Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Crystal, but you can call me Chris. I wanted to do an introductory video. The main purpose for this channel was just trying to give you a guide to move outside of state if you're interested. If you need any type of signal, sign, anything to tell you to move, this is it. Move, okay? You're not going to be able to move without that type of extra push. So I kind of wanted to use my platform to show you all of the things that I went through just to move from North Carolina to Texas, more specifically Dallas, Texas. So if you're interested in moving to Dallas, definitely pay attention. But this is also good for if you're moving to anywhere outside of where you're located right now, because I'm going to give you specific details in my series. I have a little bit more insight about Houston as well, just because I have been visiting and I'm considering moving there. So this will be a good resource for you if you're looking to move. In the series, you will find different resources. I will tell you how much it costs for me to move here. I will tell you the apartment locators I've used. I will tell you the cost of the U-Haul that I rented, or it's not U-Haul, but you'll get all of the details on my move. I'm one of those people that I'd rather tell you everything up front than you to find out on your own, because I had to do that and it's not really fun. So definitely stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment if you have any specific questions in regards to moving out of state. I did post a poll on my Instagram, so most of you probably have come from my Instagram, and I will be answering those questions that you guys asked me on my question poll. So stay tuned to that. I would definitely be answering all of those questions. Most of you have asked the same question, so this will be a very good tool for you to move anywhere. It doesn't have to be here in Texas. It can be anywhere. So just to tell you a little bit about my journey without, going into my series, I do want to let you guys know that the very first thing you should do before moving is to make sure you're aligned with your goal, your end goal. So don't move without a purpose. It's definitely one of those things that you have to think deeply about. Make sure that you're going for the right reasons, and our right reasons may be different. I have a list that I will disclose to you later as to what my standards were to move to a different city, state. So right now, pause the video if you can and just write down a list of things, a list of reasons as to why you would like to move to a different state. That's a very important thing. You want to make sure you're moving for the right reasons, and whatever state you're considering meets those expectations. I kind of can tell you a little bit about my journey. So in March of last year, funny enough, so a year ago, I was in grad school for speech language pathology, and I realized at some point that that is not what I want to do. I do not want to be a speech language pathologist. I was doing very well in my grad program. I just kind of honestly got into the curriculum for the wrong reasons. One being money. I was like, oh, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. There's not much you can do unless you get a graduate degree. And so I kind of looked into different things that I could do, and speech language pathology was one of the things that you can kind of smooth and, smooth your way into the curriculum without having to do too many foundational classes. So in my journey there, I just kind of realized that's not what I wanted to do. So instead of, really knowing what my life's purpose is, which, disclaimer, we don't know. I'm 25 years young. I'm not sure how old you guys are, but no matter what age you are, you have no clue most of the time as to what your purpose is, what you're going to do until a later age. You just have to experience life, figure out different things that you like and dislike, to kind of be aligned with your purpose. So once I got into grad school in North Carolina, I moved to a different city. I stayed in Charlotte for about 5 years before I moved, and then I went to grad school in Raleigh. Moved to Raleigh for a year, and like I said, I realized that was not the path that I really wanted to go. So I did some soul searching. Once I realized, like, I'm depressed, this is not it. I'm doing well, but it's not fulfilling. I just, have you been through that point in your life? I'm sure you have, where you're like, this is not it. I need to do something else. So what I did was I applied to several jobs upon graduating. So I graduated in 2018, May 2018 to be exact, with my bachelor's of science in psychology, as I mentioned. And I didn't have a clue as to what I was going to do. So, funny enough, I went into a staffing agency. I applied online, didn't know what a staffing agency was at all. I thought I was applying to an internal position. Found out later on that it was a staffing agency. So once I went into the staffing agency and interviewed with a recruiter, luckily enough, she liked me so much, she asked if I wanted to be a part of the internal team at the at the agency. And listen, I just graduated, so of course I wanted to find a job. I didn't care what it was at that point. I just kind of wanted to get my foot in the door. I wanted to have a position where I found out kind of where my footing lied, what I can do to, make money and possibly build a career. So I started at a staffing agency and got into recruiting. I did that for about a year and a half or so. And then in my mind the whole time, I was like, well, this is not going to be forever. I'm going to find another job to help support my needs and my wants. And also I want to pursue higher education. I want to get my master's, possibly my PhD. So this is what was going through my mind as a recent graduate. And then fast forwarding, as I kind of mentioned, I got into speech language pathology and realized that even though I was good at it, that's not something I was passionate about. Once I got into the program, realized that's not what I wanted. After 2 semesters, I went back into recruiting. I was like, you know what? Freak it. I'm going to find a job in another field, something I have a little experience in, just to see what is out there. So I found a job within recruiting, and guys, listen, this job was like a quote unquote dream job. I'm putting the air quotes up because I know there's controversy over a dream job. No one dreams of labor. We already know that. But just for the traditional stance of what a dream job meant, that was it. I was making a good amount of money for my age. I was 24 at the time. I'm like, oh shoot, I don't have independence. This is great. I'm going to have a wonderful time doing this job. And like I said earlier, this was in March of last year. So many of you can kind of see where my story is going. But if you didn't, here we go. I lost my job in March of last year. The job that I thought was going to change my life forever. This was going to be the job to put me on the map. I was getting the compensation that I felt like I deserved at that point in my career. I was getting the type of exposure to the type of job I wanted. I mean, everything. It was a full package for me. But it was March of 2020. So as we know, we've lived it. We're still living it. It was not good. So I lost my job. I was very depressed. I went to a counselor to talk. I just needed some emotional support. And if you've been to counseling, you know that with counseling is not so much of what they tell you. It's not like they're telling you do X, Y, and Z. They're giving you, they're asking you questions to think about what you really want in your life to go around that path of what your destiny is. So literally the question that my therapist asked me that was just so, it was such a change in my life was, okay, so what's next? Now, everyone who knows me, if you're watching this and you're my close friend or someone who know of me from college or high school or wherever, you know that I consider myself an overachiever. I like to get things done. I want to be better, not than anyone else, but better for myself. The only competition I see is me. Period. So once he asked me that question, what's next, after I lost my job, my dream job, the only thing I can think of was, I'm about to move out of state. I am one of those people, listen, I'm not about to let anything bring me down more than 2 or 3 days, because at this point, you're in control of my life. Okay. And I don't want you to have any control over my life. So I wanted to take my life by the horns and figure out my next steps. And for me internally, it's like, okay, Crystal or Chris, you can call me Chris. I got my dream job. I lost my dream job. So what's next? What can I do to outbid myself? What can I do to outdo myself? And the answer to that question is move out of state. I've been talking to my friends, my family, and to myself for a long time. I was like, you know what? After I graduate college, I'm moving out of state. I've been in North Carolina my whole life. I feel like I've lived in the major cities. I've kind of felt I know what North Carolina has to offer, and I want to have a different experience. I'm young. I don't have any kids. I don't have a significant other. And even if I were talking to someone, like, we're not married. So I was like, I'm dipping regardless. And so during that counseling session, I went back to my roots. I found out, like, hey, for me to beat my highest level, which at that point was my highest level was my dream job, the only thing I could do was move out of state. So from that moment on, which was in the end of March, I decided I'm moving. Now, what I'm going to tell you is going to seem very shocking to you, but it's the truth. I'm very candid, so I'm not going to make it seem like this is something that is not. I've never visited Texas. I never visited Dallas, to be even specific. Before I moved, I have not even made a trip here. The funny thing about it is, and which is one of the reasons why I decided to start this channel, the resource that I used to make my decision on where to move was YouTube. I looked up Dallas videos, Houston videos, just all things Texas before I moved to see people's experience. So I hope this video, this channel, I hope I will serve as a resource to you before you move, because that's exactly what I did. I never visited before I moved. I would not recommend it. I definitely recommend you visiting before you move anywhere. However, just a disclaimer, if you visit, doesn't mean you're going to have an accurate depiction of what type of environment you're going to move to. Because you could visit during a high traffic time of the year. So it could be Mardi Gras for Louisiana. It could be Super Bowl Sunday. You could visit during these times where there are a lot of people out. The scene looks packed, fun, and all of this. And so in your mind, you're like, oh yes, this is where I want to move. But in actuality, that's not exactly how it is. And even if you move on or even if you visit, on a day that's not highly populated, it still doesn't necessarily give you a depiction of how it will be once you move here. Definitely better, but it's not 100% accurate. You don't know how things are going to be no matter what until you move there. Unless you're living there for weeks and weeks at a time with a friend or a family member, there's no way for you to know whether the place that you're contemplating moving to is the right place for you. So this is a sign for you right now. If you feel that anxiety of feeling like you're unprepared to move, let me tell you something. You're going to always feel that way until you move here. There's nothing that's going to happen for you to think otherwise, because either way, you're not going to know how a city is or a state is until you actually relocate there. I want you to know while watching my videos, this is 100% my experience. So we may be interested in different things, in different types of environments. So don't be surprised if, what my pros and cons are may differ from yours, just because we're different people. So it is what it is. In addition to sharing my specific journey to come into Dallas, I definitely want to also share vlogs with you. I'm going to go around the city and, kind of give you a sneak peek, especially if you're wanting to move to specifically Dallas, a sneak peek into what the nightlife is like, what is the day party scene, the art scene, the restaurant, everything that I do while I'm here. I want to bring you guys on into the journey so you can have, some type of outlook of what to expect if you move here. I'm also going to do the same thing from Houston. Many of you may know, but the distance from Dallas to Houston is about 3.5 hours. So I visit pretty frequently because I love Houston. So I will also be doing some vlogging there. The restaurants, the nightlife, the day parties, anything that you want to know, art, everything. I will also be doing it from, Houston's perspective if you want to move. In addition to that, I'm going to add people that will do you justice. So I just moved here, like I said, July 2020. It is now March 2021. And I moved during a pandemic, so I don't have an accurate depiction of what Dallas has to offer. So I want to put that out there now. Just because I didn't post it yet doesn't mean they don't have it to offer. But some things were limited because of the pandemic, and things are opening up now because we're getting vaccines and stuff. So I'll be able to give you more and more information about Dallas and Houston. But I'm going to bring along some friends who have been here for way longer than I have. I'm going to bring along some apartment locators, some people who are within the entertainment industry. Like, I'm going to give y'all some resources out the ass because I know that's what I would have wanted before I moved. So anything that I can think of, I'm definitely going to bring that to your state. So stay tuned. Thank you for looking and listening, and I will see you in my next video.